Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers. This is Annie 255, and this is the BiFrost simulation. Hopefully that you're not watching this because you have V-Ray downloaded and installed on your computer, and you have Phoenix FD loaded on your computer, so you'll be able to do basically clicking and doing presets, and it's going to be really easy for you. Even though I'll explain some of the stuff that's going on in the background of the Phoenix FD, I want this to be very simple. Unfortunately, if you were not able to download V-Ray and Phoenix FD for some reason, then you're kind of stuck doing this. This is what your alternative assignment is, which is BiFrost, which is free. It's with Maya. It's a lot harder to work with, and we have to tweak it out quite a bit, but I'll try to make it as painless as possible and do the best you can with it, and it should work just fine. So I'm going to take you through just some of the things that you need to look for and how everything works, and then we'll get started. But I want you to get your scene all set up, and this is really important that we set the scene up to scale. This will make things a lot easier for you. Okay? Alright, the first thing we got to do is we have to make sure that everything's set up properly. And this is what I usually do. I go into Preferences, and that can be found Windows, Settings, Preferences, right here. And this will pop up. We're going to go to Settings, and you can see that I've got this set to meter. I start off with foot first, okay? I start off with foot because I know that scale a lot easier than I do with meters. Meters are very difficult to kind of scale with and get your scale right. So I know a glass of water, just a glass that you can pour water into, is 6 inches tall, or around that, you know, and about 3 inches wide. So what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of guesstimate. But if you look what I have here, I have a glass, okay, and if this unit from here to here is 1 foot, then this is, if I do half of that, that's 6 inches. So what I ended up doing is creating, let me see, where is my modeling? There we go. I created a cylinder, and I had subdivisions across, and I just basically selected the interior and extruded it down. That's how I created the glass. Okay, so the glass is pretty easy to actually create, and that's what it looks like. That's what it turned out like. And then what I'm going to do with this then is, after I get done with modeling, low poly modeling, I went ahead and smoothed it. So I selected it and went to Mesh, Smooth, and went in here and smoothed it at 2. So I had to add the edge loops, obviously. You guys know how to do all that. You know, you're good modelers, so if you're taking this class, you know what I'm talking about when I add edge loops and I smooth it. So try to get a glass that looks something like that. We don't want millions of polygons. Let me show you what I've got so far with my display, heads-up display, and poly count. You can see that it is 4,960. Do not go above 10,000. You don't need to, okay? So keep it around 5,000 if you can, 6,000 if you can. Alright? Okay, good. The ball doesn't need to be anything special. Don't need to smooth the ball. Just basically a basic sphere. And then a cube. Okay? That's just kind of like a tabletop. So we have to have something to put the glass on. And that's it. So that's our scene, really. Is a small ball about the size of that. If you're not sure, you know, just let me show you what the size difference is between the top of the glass and that. You don't want it any bigger than that. Okay? We want to simulate pouring. Okay? Alright. So let's bring that back up. Okay. Alright, so that's the start of our scene. So get that done and we'll come back. I just wanted to talk to you about that. So once I'm done with foot, okay, then I got to go into meter and click save. Okay, and now this brings us up to meter, and you can see That's a lot harder to deal with, okay, as far as scale goes, right? But we're in it now. We're in meter, and that's what we need to do. That's what we need to simulate with, okay? All right. I highly recommend, you don't have to have a camera, you can just use perspective, but I highly recommend that once you get your the scene that you want, you don't want to see that object there. We just want to see the glass, something like that, okay? And then when you get your perspective set up, I'm going to turn, and you can see that I've got, and we're going to do an HD 540. I don't want an HD 1080 for this, so let's go ahead and click on this, and we'll get you set up with your camera here. Arnold renderer. This is basically the finished settings. Okay, we don't want the finished settings. Okay, we want to have very fast preview of this. So we're going to do 3, 2, 2, 2, and 2, and then in here I think that's set up default. Okay, it's going to take long enough as it is. And then Commons tab, we want to do HD 540. I don't expect anything bigger than that. I'm okay with that. And with that done, then if you want to see this white area, what you're actually seeing, what's going to render, you want to click on this guy right here. Okay, so we've got this guy basically sets up resolution, and this is the gate mask. So this is a resolution gate. Okay, this helps you compose your shot. And then we've got this grid that we can use, okay, field chart, and we're just going to center that out, okay, just like that. Pretty simple stuff, okay. Once that's done, then what you're going to do is you're going to go to View, you're going to go to Bookmarks, and we're going to go to Edit Bookmarks, and we're just going to call this, just click on New Bookmark, and highlight that, and go ahead and rename this. Camera set or camera finished, okay, and then click enter, the enter key, and then click apply and close it. So no matter what you do now, you're able to go back to View, Bookmarks, and then camera finished, and that will pull this up no matter what you do. Now my glass looks different because I've added some materials. So what you're going to need to do to be able to start seeing your simulation is you'll need to use Arnold. So let's click on Arnold, and you'll click on the sky dome. Okay, you'll create that, and then when you're done with that, you're going to create a lights, directional light. Okay, so you'll position those. You know, the dome light you don't have to do anything with, the Arnold dome, sky dome, and then the light source, directional light. Okay, I'll go ahead and turn mine on so you can see it. Directional light source will be that. I had to make it scale it bigger, and I added a HDR image that I'm going to go ahead and send to you guys, so you guys can download that as well, and that'll be for the BiFrost. And if you do Phoenix FD, then you can have that too as well, and that will be for the V-Ray Sky Dome. Very similar. Okay, so basically that is it. I'll take you through the materials. Okay, so the materials I put on here was an AI standard surface shader. So you can go to assign new material and go in here to Arnold shader, and then click on AI standard surface for both the glass and the tabletop. Okay, you don't have to worry about the ball, the sphere up here. That's just going to be an emitter. We'll never see it. So with the table, you want to rename it. And I did a color of not black but very dark. Okay, so here's the HSV00, and then I have got on the V 0.007 if you want exactly what I have. And then you can see the setup I have here. Okay, so you can pause the video and get it set up just exactly like I have here. And then the glass, what I did was I added the same thing as AI standard surface shader, Arnold, and then what I did was I went into presets and I clicked on glass and then replace. Okay, they have a very nice glass in here, so that'll make your It's a nice material. So go ahead and add that preset. That makes it easy for you. And I think that's it for the setup. For my light, you can see that I've got the intensity's at 1, the exposure's at 0.8, angles at 0.2, samples should be at 2, that should be higher. Cast shadows on, yes, 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 everything looks good on that. And that's the light, that's the directional light. And notice if I pull back, I've got the directional light kind of simulating the light coming in from the windows. You can see that. There we go. And that makes it a lot more realistic. And the dome, the sky dome, these are the settings I have for the sky dome. This is where the HDR image goes into the color channel, so you click on that. And then the intensity is 0.5, resolution's 2. Because I don't want to use color temperatures because I'm using the HDR function. If you click on that color, then you're going to have issues. It won't really pull from that HDR, and that's what we want. Exposure's at 0.5, samples at 2, cast shadows is on, that's fine. And then everything else except for the camera, and I've got it set up like gray. Okay, so let's just turn that back on to 1, and you should be able to see it. And depending on how bright you want the background to be, that has to do with this. We want it pretty low. We don't want it overblown, we don't want it blowing anything out. So we got a 0.5 exposure and intensity. So you can pause the video and check all this stuff out here if you want to. Okay, and that's our scene basically ready to go for render. Okay, and the next video we'll talk about how to do the simulation. Let me get this back to where I was. There we go. And so we're going to start simulating now with this scene. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.